Hello everybody, my name is MRC Core, and today I'm bringing you the International Pokemon Draft League Season 6. This is a draft league that I've hosted for a little while now. I'm actually very happy about it. It's not like most draft leagues where, it's week to week. No, what I've done is everyone gets a whole week to build all of their teams, and then everybody has a whole week to battle everybody else. And then we have a week pause, and then there's finals after that. So I'm really excited because I usually try to do like a creative format or just a fun format, just something different every time. And this time for Season 6, we have Trash Mons LC. Now, what do I mean by Trash Mons? I mean Pokemon you do not see in LC. Pokemon that have near zero usage, or they're just considered, garbage. Like this. Like, why would you use Diglett Alola over regular Diglett? There's almost no reason to do that. Why would you use Machop over Timber or Mienfoo? There's almost no reason to do that. Stuff like that. Pokemon that are just straight up outclassed, period, or Pokemon that have pretty much no usage. That is what the goal was for the draft, and we have we have 7 coaches because I can't count. We have 7 coaches. I'm very, very excited. I'm going to be interviewing a lot of my fellow coaches if possible, and I'm just going to, but I'm doing my draft analysis. Go ahead and subscribe if you haven't already. I'm going to be doing stuff like this a lot. I try to upload every other day thereabout. But yeah, I've got a lot of content. I've got a lot of plans coming up, including a Nuzlocke. So there, you got a little spoiler going on. I'm going to have a Nuzlocke soon. But anyway, so yeah, I'm going to go ahead and analyze my draft. So my first draft pick was Binnacle. I was third. I was the third pick, so, Binnacle was the S tier because when I made the draft, I was like, wow, the Shell Smashers are really broken, and this is the only one that I, didn't ban. So I picked up a Binnacle, and this is also an item lock draft league, so you're not going to see 6 Pokemon with Eviolite on them, or, just Eviolite and Berry Juice, and then you don't really see another item. So yeah, I picked up Binnacle. I thought Binnacle would be extremely good because not only does it give me access to rocks, it gives me this Tough Claws Shell Smash monster. With Tough Claws Liquidation being able to break through most things, especially if I were to toss, say, a Life Orb on this thing. Because with the Life Orb, it goes to astronomical levels, and without Eviolite on everything, there's not a lot of things that want to take that hit. And it has a very good move pull as well. Just, Water, Ground, Rock. There's not much else I can say about it. It's a very powerful Pokemon in its own right. It's very outclassed by other Shell Smash sweepers, such as Shelter. But, I'm very happy that I got to pick this. And again, it gives me access to Stealth Rocks, which I think is important. Next up, I drafted Snover. Snover, I wasn't sure if I wanted Snover or if I wanted another Pokemon here, but I saw Snover in B tier, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and take Snover, to kind of spread my points out more evenly. And I think Snover added a different kind of threat to my team because obviously Binnacle hates grass types. Well, what do grass types hate? A grass type that can beat them. So I have a Snover. That was kind of logic behind the choice. And Snover, although it does not get Aurora Veil, I do have my next pick, which is Smoochum, that can Aurora Veil for me. So something of note that my other coaches have probably made. Is that's an option for me. But this is very good. If you just slap a Choice Scarf on it, you can just spam Blizzard. Obviously, Giga Drain being what it is. It has Shadow Ball for extra coverage. You can also Weather Ball if you don't want Blizzard. But I think that's unnecessary. I think Blizzard's just better. But if you think your opponent's going to bring like counter weather, like say they're going to set up Sun, then you could bring Weather Ball specifically for that. But yeah, it's also got Swords Dance with Ice Shard priority, which is good. Wood Hammer hitting extremely hard. So yeah, like there was definitely a little bit to this Pokemon that I liked when I picked it. That wasn't just, oh, you set up Hail for Aurora Veil setup. No, it actually is able to do other things, which I appreciated. But you know, and it also does have pretty good bulk, despite its absolutely god-awful defensive typing. But, you know, it's a niche defensive typing that I'm going to use because most grass types don't really deal with this. Then, like I said, next up we got Smoochum. Its abilities, whatever. But its speed tier being 17 is actually very nice for the team because what that speed tier does is it's actually very fast because it's, you know, it's trash mons. There's not a lot of Pokemon that are 17 and above because most of them are common in LC, or you see them more common usage. So I'm actually very happy that I picked this up because not only does it give me Aurora Veil, it gives me Ice Beam / Blizzard / Psychic, and it also gives me a Nasty Plot user. It's got Paris Song support if I wanted to use that to, you know, just halt a sweep. Potentially, I could do something like that. It can't put things to sleep. It doesn't even learn Hypnosis, which is, I thought it learned Hypnosis, and I was like, okay, I can play with Hypnosis. Nasty Plot. No, it doesn't learn that. But it is very strong, so that's one of the reasons I picked it. I think that it's very spammable. Like, again, it's Ice Beam Psychic spam. You just spam those moves, slap a Choice Scarf on it, or, you know, you set up Aurora Veil and do what you need to with it at that point. Next up, I drafted Tentacool. Now, Tentacool was an interesting pick because when I was making this pick, I wasn't thinking about fighting types necessarily. I was more thinking about fire types and how to deal with them. And I thought Tentacool would be a good pick because not only would it be good against opposing water types, but it would be very good against opposing fire types, which, you know, Snover and Smoochum don't appreciate those, so I thought Tentacool would be just a good overall catch to that. And like I said, Tentacool is actually very, very cool. Not only because of Liquid Ooze for stuff like Giga Drain, but Clear Body just being what it is, so you can't Mystic Fire lower my stats, something like that. Or if you set up Rain, I could possibly run Rain Dish. That's not going to happen. But yeah, it definitely has some options. It's a rapid spin support. It can set up toxic spikes for me, which I would only set up one layer because this is LC. You don't actually need toxic. I mean, I suppose you could run toxic, but I don't think it's as good as toxic spikes in LC. Just my 2 cents. It has knockoff support, which is obviously invaluable. You know, the rest is just, it does what it does best. It's a Tentacool, it's very good. It even has Acupressure, which, I did build a team where I'm using Acupressure because I did not know what the 4th move should be. But yeah, definitely very good. It's got mediocre physical bulk, but unless you invest everything you have into that, which that's fine, but then it also has mediocre special attack, so it becomes a, do you want it to have the speed? Like, you really kind of have to play around with its stat spread to get exactly what you want. That's probably the biggest downside to Tentacool, outside of it not having recovery. The fifth thing that I drafted was Machop. Now, Machop is basically Timber without Drain Punch, in my opinion. Because if you look at it, it gets everything Timber gets outside of Mach Punch and Drain Punch. That's it. Otherwise, you might actually see Machop run just about as much as Timber, because it does have very, very similar stats to Timber. It's a very, very strong Pokemon. You not only have access to Guts, but you have No Guard, so No Guard Dynamic Punch spam is a thing that you can do. Which I think I did run with this a few times when I was building my teams. But yeah, so definitely, you know, you have Dynamic Punch, you have a very, very strong Close Combat if you wanted to utilize Guts. You know, your moves can't miss, so you can run Stone Edge. Never mind, you don't get Stone Edge, the big one does. But you don't miss your Rock Slides. Again, you also have knockoff, so it's just got a very, very, very good move pool. And again, it's a fighting type. I really wanted a fighting type because fighting types are so good in LC. It doesn't matter which one it is, because I know that Machop can definitely put in work. Next up, I have Alolan Diglett. Now, I was originally going to draft Sandile. I really wanted Sandile in this spot, but I got sniped on that. So instead, I opted to go for Alolan Diglett. Now, Alolan Diglett, I'm actually happier that I got sniped because this is what Alolan Diglett does, right? Look at this speed. It's 19. There's not a single Pokemon in the Draft League that is faster than Alolan Diglett. It is speed tied for the fastest Pokemon alongside Poliwag and I think one or two other Pokemon. I think Baneri is one of them. And Alolan Meowth. I think those are the only ones that hit 19. But anyway, it's one of the fastest Pokemon. And this not only gives me another Rock Setter, but it gives me Sucker Punch priority, and it gives me Memento support. And I'm actually really happy about that because think about Memento into Binnacle. Memento into Binnacle, Shell Smash, and set up a sweep so easily. It's such a dangerous Pokemon to have been given, despite it doesn't have any bulk, you know, etc., etc. Like, I think that definitely this is a Pokemon that is worth using, especially because if I wanted to, I could also set up Sand and give it the Sand Force boost, which with Earthquake, Iron Head, and, you know, Rock Slide, all of those moves are getting an extra Life Orb boost. So, like, if I ran Life Orb, Sand Force in the sand, this thing could pretty much just pick up a sweep like nobody's business. It's very, very good. A lot of people look down on Diglett Alola, but I have run this on, like, you know, makeshift sand teams in LC before, like on the ladder, and it has picked apart teams because it hits so hard with these two together. It really does. It doesn't matter that it's not the fastest in LC, because it is one of the fastest. That's the whole point. So then the next 6 Pokemon, I didn't have a flying type yet, so I looked for a very bulky flying type, and I ended up with Swablu. Now, Swablu is interesting because it is very bulky. It is very bulky for LC standards. But it has middling attack stats. So then you're kind of left with, alright, well, what do I do now? Well, fortunately, it gets a lot of coverage, so it can somewhat mitigate that. This also gives me a defog support, so I don't solely rely on Tentacool for it. But, you know, I thought that this would go very well because I can either Toxic, like I have a lot of options at my disposal, Ice Beam, Heat Wave, Hyper Voice going behind subs, and being stabbed because Swablu is not a Dragon type yet. Hasn't evolved to become its dragon brethren. But yeah, there's a lot of things that you can do with this. It can have safeguard support for the team. But you might scoff at that. You might scoff at that. But in Draft League, that can come in handy. That can come in handy. And it's also Heal Bell support and Haze support. So it's mostly a support Pokemon. That's the reason that I have it here. Because, for instance, I can run Body Slam, try to spread Paras. I don't think I ended up running that set. I think I was running other stuff. If you actually try to get yourself status, you can Facade and then Natural Cure will take care of it afterwards. So, you know, very good Pokemon, very good support, and I think that it really does help out the team. Now, next up, I drafted Eevee. Now, this was an interesting pick because I was looking at something in one of the higher tiers because I realized I had a lot of extra points left over. And I looked at Eevee and I was like, why don't people run you? You have adaptability. And I was starting to run calcs for this. And I was looking at it. It's like, it's bulky. It's got a decent speed tier, hitting 16. Its attack stat is 15. Unless you go adamant, then it's 16. So, you know, it's got good stats. It's definitely got good stats. So I was looking at it and I was like, wow, this thing is kind of crazy. Like, I mean, this thing is actually kind of crazy. There's a lot of ways that I can go with this, and I can't wait to show you some of the stuff. Like, one of the techs that I was running was Wish Protect, Shadow Ball, it was Wish Protect, Shadow Ball, and Hyper Voice. And again, Hyper Voice is going to get that adaptability boost, and Shadow Ball just hits ghost types. So between this, there's nothing that can be immune or resist the combo of these two moves. So, unless you had a Pawniard, but that doesn't exist in this format because it's very much used a lot. But yeah, so this is one of the sets I was running, obviously not with that spread, but yeah, I was running this. Like, it actually does put in a lot of work because of the adaptability boost, and I can put Eviolite on it, I can put Berry Juice, there's a lot of things. It's good with a lot of items. Another set that I was looking at was Protect, Last Resort, and that's it. Last Resort is ridiculously strong because it's a base 140 power move. I was even looking at Toxic Orb and just, Facade Quick Attack and whatever other move. Like, it really does have, like, this thing is useful. And I didn't even think about Wish when I drafted it, but I'm very happy that I got this because it kind of makes it so that my, as you can see, this one, I'm probably not going to use it. But, there you go. But we also drafted an Inkay. Inkay was between Inkay and something else. I don't quite remember what I was trying to decide between. But I wanted Inkay because a lot of the Prankster Pokemon, actually all of the Prankster Pokemon went. I hadn't had a Dark type because I wanted immunity to Prankster. But I also wanted something that could kind of just spam moves or even give me knockoff. So I decided to draft Inkay, not only because, contrary superpower spam, but it also has access to knockoff, and I can run different sets. For instance, if I wanted to run Infiltrator, I could do that with Flamethrower and Nasty Plot. So the set would look like Dark Pulse, Flamethrower, Nasty Plot, and Stored Power, or Psychic. Psychic more likely. But I could run a set like this, and it does have decent bulk. It has very average stats all across the board, so there's a lot that you can actually do with Inkay outside of just, hey, I'm going to throw this in here with a Choice Scarf and spam Superpower. So this was one of the things that I was looking at. Like, there's a lot of different ways you can actually run Inkay, so I thought this would be very interesting. Next up, I chose Sizzlipede. Larvesta was already taken, and so were a lot of fire types, so I went down into the bottom of the barrel and I found this Pokemon, and I'm actually really happy with it because it has good stats. There's not a single bad stat on this Pokemon. They're all pretty good. The problem is it does not have reliable recovery, unlike Larvesta, which is why it is so outclassed by Larvesta. And Larvesta is also outclassed by Ponyta and Growlithe. So, yeah. But, Sizzlipede is definitely a good pick. It can run Coil. Fire Lash being the main move that drew me toward it, because lowering a target's defense in an item where there's not, in a draft format where there is not, Eviolite on every single Pokemon, that can have big effects. So, Fire Lash, Leech Life, and knockoff support. That's pretty much all you need. And then if I really wanted to, I could run Power Whip just to have that coverage. But most of the time, the set's going to look like this. Or I can run Scald. Like, there's a lot of things that I can do with this. It gave me a lot of options, so I tried to make the best of it. And then next up, we have Bonsly. Now, it was between Bonsly and Roly-Coly for this pick. I do remember that. I ended up siding with Bonsly because Bonsly has Sturdy Juice, which, if you don't know what I'm talking about, Sturdy plus Berry Juice. Look at this. So, if I get knocked down to 1 HP, Berry Juice pops, and I'm back up to full HP. So it's like I get 2 turns that I can use Sturdy, or 2 times that I can use Sturdy to my advantage. And this has a very big attack stat. Base 80, that's a big number. And it's got very good natural physical defense. It's got good special defense with 50-45, so you can always, hit that 12, get what you need. The worst thing about Bonsly, though, obviously, as you can see, is that speed stat is a drag. It could somewhat circumvent this through Sucker Punch, but it doesn't really. What this gave me essentially was Stealth Rock Boom with Berry Juice. So I could pretty much just say, hey, I'm here to actually make you miserable for a couple minutes. Like, this is pretty much the set that I ran on every single one of my Bonsly. Just because I don't need the speed for anything, so I'm going to run this. It's pretty bulky. It'll eat a hit. I think, actually, I was running this a lot as well. But yeah, Bonsly, very good pick for what it is. Like, I think that I can definitely make some use of this. And then last but not least, we have Cleffa. Now, Cleffa was in the tier labeled the worst ones, because this is the tier where either the stats are very bad for the Pokemon in it, or they just don't have the move pool. Such as if it Dreepy. Dreepy has no move pull. It gets Draco Meteor and Dragon Pulse. That's it. You don't get a single other move that's worth running. The best ghost type move that it has is Astonish. So you're better off running Bite. It's very sad. It's very sad. But yeah, that was what the worst ones tier was like. So I scooped this one out of there because I was very low on points at this point. Yeah, so I scooped up Cleffa. Now, I was upset because originally I was going to draft a Togepi, and my friend Justinut sniped me so hard on Togepi. My draft would have looked a little bit different. Like, Sizzlipede would have actually been a, it would have been a Litwick. I was trying to say Lampent, but yeah, it would have been a Litwick, and this would have been a Togepi. Like, that's what the big difference would have been. But I'm okay with Cleffa. I'm okay with Cleffa. What Cleffa does is it has Encore. It has Encore, I can make use of that. It has Thunder Wave, I can make use of that. It can Soft Boiled Up, I can make use of that. As Wish Support, I can make use of that. Like, it has uses. It's not as good as Togepi, because Togepi is just overall bulkier by far, and it can set up Sweep with either Nasty Plot or Calm Mind. I think it gets Calm Mind. But either way, yeah, so I picked up Cleffa. And that's the draft that I had. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. I'm very curious. And let me know if you're excited for Season 6 and Season 7, because I will be doing Season 7 as well. Anyway, take care, everybody.